How is it going, everyone? I want to give you guys a heads up on a game that will be delisting forever on the PlayStation Store, making a way for its upgraded and enhanced release to be coming to the PlayStation Store. This is something we've been seeing quite frequently. Now, on PlayStation, it is good that we have physical copies of games, but even on consoles, we are inching closer, and I am sure that if it was up to PlayStation, if it was up to Microsoft, that everything and everybody would be playing their games digitally, but at the very least, we do have the option to buy physical games, which is always nice. But from the PlayStation Store, Yakuza Zero, the original copy, will be getting delisted. Now, credit to Sega, they have, I mean, I shouldn't be giving them credit for this, but nonetheless, this should have been announced right out the gate. They will be offering an upgrade path for Yakuza Zero into Yakuza Director's Cut. If you're unaware, Yakuza Zero's Director's Cut came out earlier this year when the Nintendo Switch 2 launched. It was available on the Switch 2 only. It does add English voice acting. It adds some new scenes, adds a new multiplayer game mode, and some other bonuses and things of that nature, but it's not like it's this significant, gigantic upgrade, and I think people always want the original copies of these games to be preserved. However, it was noted by Sega, Yakuza Zero for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Steam will no longer be available for new purchases from December 8th at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Those who get Yakuza Zero by 8:29 a.m. Pacific Time on December the 8th can continue to download and play the title. That's always how it works. Even after the games get delisted, and this goes for like licensing agreements being expired as well, you'll still have the ability to re-download the game if you bought it and play it no problem. Those who get the digital version of Yakuza Zero for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, or Steam by December the 8th may also be able to upgrade to the digital version of Yakuza Zero Director's Cut for PS5, Xbox Series, or Steam for $14.99. It will be $50 with the regular release, but it will be $14.99 for the upgrade. I think that's kind of a pricey upgrade, but, you know, it's more than a typical upgrade, I guess you could say, and I guess not all game upgrades are created equally. I mean, this one literally adds English voice acting, although I don't think English voice acting is something that you should be charged a premium for. English voice acting is there to open up the game to a newer audience, henceforth sell more copies of the game. Now, English voice acting isn't the only thing the Director's Cut adds, I get that, but I just don't think that should be one of those things that we should be crediting for and adding value into that $15 price point, if that makes sense. Yakuza Zero Director's Cut will also replace Yakuza Zero in the Yakuza Complete Series bundle available on the PlayStation Store, and the Windows 10 version of the Yakuza games will be delisted as well. Now, why does this happen? And this has been happening more and more frequently, I believe, and it's not rocket science here. It is to artificially juice up the value of these pre-existing games so they can sell them at a premium, and even when they put the game on sale, it'll be at a heftier price point. We just saw this happen with Horizon Zero Dawn. That is the most recent example of this, where that game didn't really need an upgrade. However, and fair play to PlayStation, I guess, to an extent, they didn't delist the original Horizon Zero Dawn. What did they do? Oh, they just doubled the price point of the original Horizon Zero Dawn, and then the remaster was $49.99. This is the territory you get into with a digital landscape if it's all digital. At the very least, physical copies of Horizon Zero Dawn are still available to buy, and they were available to buy. Thankfully, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, at least now physically, is down to $19.99. Digitally, it's still going for $30, which I think is kind of pricey, but you get that's the whole game. That is the literal whole game, because now, no longer are they selling you Horizon Zero Dawn for $9.99 on sale. They're selling it to you for $29.99 on sale, and the same thing will happen with Yakuza Zero Director's Cut. It's very effective in the sense that you take the same game, you obviously make some sort of improvements out of it, but you literally eliminate the option to buy the original game, or you hike up the price of the original because, oh, we've added value into this remastered version, which I don't agree with at all. The remaster should just be able to exist, but they wanted to sell, in the case of Horizon Zero Dawn, they wanted to sell that remastered release for $50. They didn't want you to be able to buy the base game for $20 and then get the upgrade for $10. That's why they also juiced up the base game's price point to $40, and now the value has gone down. It's been a year since release, but it's a reoccurring trend that I've seen, and Sega's done it a lot. They did it with Sonic X Shadow Generations, where on Steam, Sonic Generations was delisted, and it's definitely happened more. And I had even said in prior videos when Yakuza Zero was announced, the director's cut, excuse me, was announced for PlayStation, I'm like, I wonder if they're gonna delist Yakuza Zero, and in fact, they are. You know, and it's not like this is that big of a deal in a vacuum. Either a lot of you guys already own Yakuza Zero, or, you know, you could buy a physical copy of the game. But as we are inching closer and closer to an all-digital reality, I just want you guys to be aware that publishers have the power to do this, and once we go all-digital, they're gonna do things like this, I feel like, even more. And once Sega starts getting away with it, you're gonna have other publishers do it as well. Credit to EA, for example. They actually left the original Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 on Steam after the Legendary Edition came out. Nowadays, nobody's buying the original 3 Mass Effect games because the Legendary Edition goes for like $5.99. But, you know, there is that element, and that's EA of all publishers, so it's still territory that I don't want to get into. And also, Days Gone is another game that recently had its price kind of juiced up. Guys, it's no coincidence that Days Gone Remastered came out, and that's available, and the original Days Gone is going for $27 on sale. Like, this doesn't happen on accident. They're doing this by design. And obviously, I don't think anybody should be a big fan of it. Now, Sony, again, a little bit different than the Sega MO, where Sega is just outright delisting the original game. Sony is just upping the price point of the original game, and I think people would even prefer that. Absolutely still whack, but why not leave the original Yakuza Zero? If you're so desperate to get the $50 out of the director's cut, up the price of Yakuza Zero to $40, I guess. I would prefer that than the game getting delisted. People always want that original version of the game to be available, and we've seen that time and time again with game preservation and whatnot. Again, it's not as big of a deal right now because physical copies of games still exist. I do wonder if the physical copy of Yakuza Zero, if that's gonna go up in price. I can actually see something like that happening where the physical price point goes up, but looking at listings, the physical copy is still going for, you know, $15 to $25, around that range, 15 to 20 at an ideal price point. But, you know, something to consider and be mindful of. The game is available to buy right now in the PlayStation Store. Unfortunately, it is not discounted, so you'd have to pay $19.99 for it, but you could buy the base Yakuza Zero game for $19.99. If you do want the director's cut upgrade, you could pay $15 for it, and then you would pay $35 instead of paying $50. They're also kind of capitalizing on that FOMO of people being like, oh my god, Yakuza Zero is getting delisted, so now they're gonna go buy the game, then they're gonna buy the $15 director's cut, and then potentially they're not going to play the game for like a year, and then the director's cut is just going to go down in price. But again, that's capitalizing on FOMO, which I get. It's a psychological play by them, but I'm not a big fan of it, to say the least, and something that I do think people should be aware about. But that is going to do it for me. Again, if you do want to pick up Yakuza Zero, you have until December the 8th, but really December the 7th, because it's December 8th in the morning that it's going to be delisted. So jump on that if you're interested, but I'm not a fan of the ramifications this can have to long-term aspects of gaming, where, you know, games that existed then get delisted for these upgraded versions to be released, and then the upgraded versions have juiced up prices. Sega's notorious for this, PlayStation's notorious for this, although they don't do the delisting the same. But I still think it's something people should be aware about. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.